So how many of the right here? Over. Okay. So I was at a pitch event participating a couple of weeks ago, and there were 16 investors in the room. And they asked all 16 of the companies are going to present, what do you need to hear? And they had 5 minutes. What do you need to hear? 15, I was counting 15 of the 16 said, well, of course I want to learn about their business, but I really need to learn about them, because that's such an important factor that people skip over. So I start with that. So where'd we go? Oh, we lost it. So I am a recovered lawyer, and I started my life as a very traditional lawyer, and here's how you will know. That was me. Now, I want you to know, I was a wild child, because yes, I had the suit on, yes, I had the white tie on, but I had a pretty crazy yellow tie in that, which was not normal, because I said, this doesn't make sense. Why do we got to be boring and dress boring? I met you. So I said, well, okay, that's not me. And I said, there's too many things that don't work in this business. I didn't like it. And I was told I asked too many questions. Imagine that. They did. They literally took me off a committee. They said, you're a pain in the butt. You asked too many questions about why we do things a certain way, and couldn't we do it this way? So I said, I'm going to go start my own thing. So I started my own law firm, and my attire changed as well. And I will tell you, by the time I got to being at that position, I was not even wearing a tie. And it's interesting how clothes follow mindset. And then I left. I decided to quit because I realized I didn't like being a lawyer. I love business. So I became a leadership consultant, coach, speaker, trainer. So then I became this, and I was really evolving. And what makes me think about this here is, how many of you remember Steve Jobs' speech at Stanford, the graduation speech? He talked about 3 points. I don't remember 2 of them, but the one I remember is he talked about connecting the dots. And he said, you can't connect the dots forward. You can only look back and see how they got connected. And as I'm showing you this progression, that's exactly what happened, because, well, that got skipped. So when I moved to Tampa Bay, I met this guy, Brent Britton, who is one of the founders of CoreX Legal. That's his corporate website picture. When I saw that, I didn't know him when I first moved here 3 years ago. And I saw that picture and I said, I got to meet this guy, because this is a guy that's playing in the corporate world, and he is his own person. And about 6 months ago, I thought I was going to stay here for the rest of my life. And 3 months ago, 6 months ago, Brent came to me and said, I'm going to do something really amazing. Will you come do it with me? And that became my role now as CEO and Chief Impact Officer of CoreX Legal. This is the 1 million cups I was at with an entrepreneur. So the question we ask entrepreneurs, we're very unique. Well, hopefully by the end, you'll know how unique we are, but we consider ourselves not only unique, but really disruptive. When we sit down with clients and potential clients, we ask them 2 questions right at the very beginning. Tell us, in terms of your business, right? Tell us what problem you solve. I'm going to get to that. And the other question, which often doesn't get asked and answered, is, have you now market validated this? 90% of the time, the answer is no. And actually, what's interesting is that both those questions, the answer is the same problem. It's not actually answering the problem. They identify the solution. They tell us how cool their solution is. So that wasn't the question. The question is, what is the problem you solve? It's amazing how hard it is to get entrepreneurs to be able to answer that, because entrepreneurs love ideas. Then once we hear the problem and the solution, we say, have you tested this? Most have not. And a lot of them will say, I don't want to tell anybody, it's a secret. Now, our advice is that's ridiculous. If you've got secret sauce that's patentable, don't tell anybody that. But the idea is not the magic. In fact, you need to find out how people see it. You need to talk about it. You need to socialize it. So we are very counterintuitive to tell people, yeah, no, you need an NDA. No, you don't. The question is, who's going to do this and is willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to do this? It's the idea is not what's valuable. It's the person who's willing to go to the mat and go all in to achieve that. So we said, well, we got to do some things differently, because there's a big problem here. There's a big problem, especially with entrepreneurs and startups when it comes to lawyers. It's a huge, massive gap, and it's called lack of access. There's no shortage of lawyers, but there's a huge shortage of a match between what entrepreneurs need and they believe they can afford. Because I think of different ways to talk about this. How many of you ever saw the movie Concussion with Will Smith? It's all about how the concussion protocols came about. Well, it's not funny. That's a very serious topic. But there's this concussion that happens to entrepreneurs because of their lawyers. Because they go talk to a lawyer and they ask them always two questions. They're not necessarily the best questions, but they're pretty good. They go to the lawyer and say, "What's your hourly rate?" And then the lawyer says a number that is so staggering to most human beings that this unheard of number, and they almost pass out. Some fall down. That's where the concussion can happen. So usually it's more knee buckling. It's kind of like, what? Okay, all right. I got past that. I'm breathing.
I see that's almost over.
What's now? Next question. What's this going to cost me? Oh, we don't know. When will you know? At the end. So you're going to charge me $500 an hour, and I won't know how much it's going to cost until the end. Yeah, everybody's going to tell you that. And that's largely the case. So we said that can't be the case because that doesn't work. So we've got entrepreneurs who typically either do it themselves, which might work, but it's very dangerous for a lot of reasons, or they go find someone who is inexpensive, but probably doesn't have the experience they need. They're not bad lawyers, but they don't have the expertise in the startup world, in the technology world, in the capital raising world. So we said, we got to change this. Well, problem is law firms expect startups to meet the law firm where it is. Law firms need to meet the businesses where they are. That's what being a service industry is. The second is law firms' fee models just don't work. They don't work with startups. And the last one is the right expertise usually comes with a high price tag. So we said that can't happen. We're kind of zealous. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making it up today. Zealotness, yes.
No, just
zealous. Brandon, the first time I've ever said the word about access. So how do we create access? We got to change the model completely. We got to disrupt this. This is Brent's favorite line, not your grandparents' law firm. We don't bill hours. If you ask our lawyers what their hourly rate is, they'll tell you, I don't know. We not only don't bill by the hour, we don't even track our hours. So we don't even use that as a measure of productivity, because we said if we use that to measure productivity, but bill differently, we're still in the trap. We've got to blow this thing up. And so our lawyers were freaked out for a month. The only thing they ever knew was about billing time and sort of measuring themselves that way. We said, no, we need you to measure yourself different ways. We're going to do that. It's been challenging, but we'd rather take the challenge to create something special.
So they got a concussion.
Pardon? They got a concussion as well. So we don't bill by the hour. We do several things. Well, in a moment, I'll tell you about context. Everything's a fixed fee, a retainer, or monthly subscription. The only exception is litigation. We still try and do litigation in chunks, but litigation is the hardest one to predict. It's just all over the board. We haven't figured that one out. We're working on it. But everything else, everything that's business related, you know exactly what it's going to cost ahead of time. That's the key that I heard when I quit practicing law. Every business I talked to, they said the hardest thing for me is not the rates, it's the fact that I never knew how much it was going to cost. And we said that can't be the issue. So, and we also do something I mentioned to some couple folks earlier called context-based billing. What that means is who here is either in a startup or about to start up. And what is your first name?
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Awesome name. That was one of ours if we'd had a girl. Yeah, didn't have a girl though. So who here has been in business more than 10 years? Okay, so Rupert. So I got Rupert and Rachel. They both come to me with a question. The answer to them for them both is the same. And they both need the same thing. Now, how does it make sense though? Let's say that thing is $4,000. Theoretically. That's what I think it's worth. But it may not be worth, it might be worth 4,000 to Rupert. because he's been around a while and he's got cash flow. It's not worth it to you, even though it is worth it. So context that billing means, let's take into consideration where you are, and you shouldn't pay the same thing Rupert does. And Rupert may say that doesn't seem fair, but actually it is fair. When you think of, you may not like it, but that's actually a fairer system. So we have said, how do we make this fair and how do we provide access? And here's the other cool part, what I love the most. If you've got a really great idea, convince us it's great. And we'll take a piece of the company. And sometimes that means you don't pay fees at all. Sometimes it means you get them deferred. So you can pay when you get your money. Usually that's someone's going out to review their seed money. We'll allow ourselves to get paid once you get it. Oh, what happens if you don't get your money? We don't get paid because we're taking risk with you. That is what partnership actually looks like. So we said, how do we create access? We've got to be more predictable. We've got to be flexible. We've got to be context driven. We got to look at people where they are, and we've got to be willing to really take the ride with them. That's kind of the key parts. I mean, I could keep going into this of all the stuff we do. I've already touched on them already. This is sort of what we do, but the what is, it's the magic, and the stuff in I put in yellow is the stuff that we have the most fun doing. And it's the stuff that actually need to add capital. All capital's up there. Because one of the feedback we've gotten is that smaller firms, which is where entrepreneurs tend to go, don't really do capital transactions. Go ask them, how many times have you helped a company raise money? Well, there was a couple times.
Or they say we're too small.
They were too small. And there's nothing wrong with those firms. They provide great service, but almost all the time, who they're looking to serve are bigger than you are as a startup. I can tell you, I wake up every morning excited. In fact, Brent and I have this great relationship, and we had a meeting Monday morning, and I'll close with this. I said, Brent, I got to tell you about this weekend. He goes, what'd you do, something fun? I said, no, it's just, throughout the weekend, I just kept thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And we're really making a difference. And this matters. And we're a startup. We're 6 months in. Said it's so vital. And I said, I've got about a half a dozen new ideas. So we're entrepreneurial and we want to represent entrepreneurs. That's our story.
Will you have a client who wears a tie?
Absolutely. But you know what? That's interesting. What is your name? Bob. So when I started my own firm a long time ago, because I'm an old guy, or older guy, we had a casual dress code before it was the thing. And I did have a coat. I was a litigator, so I had a coat and tie if I had to go to court, and it was on my door. It was hanging on my door because sometimes there was an emergency, because that was about respect. That was what was expected. But I had people in our firm who said, well, sometimes you got to dress up for the client. I said, I'm not dressing up for anybody anymore, because I said, if somebody needs me to wear a tie to hire me, then we're not a good fit. And it was one of the most freeing moments of my life to realize that not everybody, I don't want to do business with everybody. I want to do business with people where we have an alignment of values. Doesn't mean how we dress, but that if that's a factor, then I mean, look at Brent. Last night, and he was speaking for a few minutes, and everybody who got there, I mean, I like sport coats, so I dress up, but everybody was dressed kind of like me, and Brent was there in his t-shirt, jeans, tennis shoes, and his tattoos, because that's who Brent is. And Brent's brilliant, and people are drawn to him like fireflies or something in the light, because he's also an entrepreneur, and he's willing to talk about his failures and the businesses he started outside the law. And that's something I was thinking about on the drive over today. You're getting an intro to my next video I do. Would you rather be the smartest in the room or the wisest?
Of course.
Most people would say the wisest, but then the follow-up question is, last week, what have you done to make yourself wiser? Most people are going to say, I did things to make myself smarter. But why? Wisdom is messy. Wisdom means making mistakes. Wisdom means taking risks. Wisdom means trying doing things differently. It means not following and leading, paving the way. A lot more uncertain. More fun.
You got to dig deep for wisdom.
Pardon?
You got to dig deep for wisdom.
Yeah, and you got to allow it to come up, right? Yes, sir.
Gotta be vulnerable and authentic too. So it sounds like your model is just a beefed up prepaid legal model. Is that, would you?
I would differ, I'm very familiar with prepaid legal shield and all that.
Right,
I would say that there's some fundamental differences in terms of a mission, it's similar. The mission is to provide access, legal
Right.
shield, prepaid legal, they're all designed to provide access. So
Right.
that we share as a common mission. The delivery is different because from what I know about most of those, a lot of those are not, this doesn't matter. I think it's helpful. They're delivered as voluntary benefit programs
Right.
where people are taking out their pay and they accumulate time. The question, one difference is the way I know Legal Shield works. I don't know all of them, but they're the biggest. They're the gorilla. Is they have captive law firms geographically. So if you've got Legal Shield and you got a pot, I've got a guy in Ocala, 1 million cups. He's got 400 hours. He's never used. 400 hours. He's never used. Wow. So he said, well, who will be my law firm? And I said, well, I'm sure they can tell you because it's the same firm for everybody. Well, what is their expertise? I said, I don't know. Now, are they all going to be competent? I'm sure they are. But I can tell you this as an example. In North Carolina, the firm there, they do everything, but one of their specialties is personal injury. My bias is that a personal injury law firm is not going to have expertise in business and entrepreneurship. It's a different model, nothing wrong with it. So part of it is you don't get to choose your counsel in most of those cases. And typically the reason it works is because they have commoditized the deliverables. We commoditize too, but the value of what we bring is not the product, not the document, it's the advice. It's that earlier question. It's the things that, as I was telling someone beforehand, when you talk to that person, even before they start their business and help them save money because they were going down a path like this.
right.
That's the thing you're not going to typically get.
So as part of your presentation, because when you brought up subscription, that's where my mind immediately went. So you could say, there's subscription services out there for real simple things like parking tickets, but there's nothing out there that does this for business. And that would immediately set you apart.
They are out there, but it's very tiny. That's what we're evolving towards. And it's scary, but I love it. That's actually what I worked on this weekend. I created a spreadsheet. Brent and I talked about it on Monday, and we're trying to figure out how to figure out those numbers. But it would be that you're getting sophisticated counsel.
Right.
And Brent Brent's human. He said, well, Jeff, sometimes, the fees are going to be higher. I go, Brent, that's the deal though. Our business model, financial model has to be based on the whole, not trying to make sure we win with every client,
Right.
but we win with the whole. And we would do it differently based upon where the status of the company is. That was my model.
I was just thinking that to set yourself apart and to show some uniqueness, because what you're doing is cool, but I didn't understand why you were unique until you got to that point.
Well, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Rachel, did you have your hand up?
No, I think we can talk offline.
All right.
I've been a director with the legal show for 16 years. I'd love to consult with you.
Just next first, then you.
I look at a problem, the problem in this country. 5% of the global population, 68% of the global lawyers in this country. That's the problem. Think for a minute.
You know what's interesting about that problem, and I agree with you, because one of my jokes is, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a bunch of lawyers. But here's the thing though, if you've got all those lawyers here, what that should tell us in most economic models is the price would go down,
Absolutely.
and it hasn't.
They're creating problems.
They're creating problems.
All of the politicians, 80% of the politicians are lawyers. We are supposed to be paperless society. They're cutting trees, paper. It is a big problem. We're kidding, check it out.
Yeah.
They're not adding value.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with
I think we have to move on that.
this one and then this one.
Yes. Yeah, it's cool. Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. The first one is, I'm looking at the presentation and see that you are doing some kind of cutting edge technologies. You are the firm, you have a customizable model, as I understood. And you do deal with the high technology, right?
That's a fair statement. If you look at, like, people ask a lot, who are your favorite clients? Well, they ask, who are your clients? We prefer the question, who are our favorite clients? Because we believe in fun as a core value.
Okay.
And lawyers should be fun, and should have fun. And believe it or not, you should actually have fun interacting with your lawyer because they're cool. And we consider ourselves pretty cool. So when we look at it, we say, at our core, we're all about entrepreneurs at any stage of their business, even later stage, not just startup. Under that umbrella is technology. Our expertise is a better match for someone in technology because we can differentiate based upon our expertise versus someone who is in another business. Like someone's got a manufacturing business. Can we do their work? Absolutely. Will we do it great? Absolutely. Are there others who can do it? Yes. And now we've got a different pricing model, but we're looking at what's the pricing model differential and the kind of expertise. And then under entrepreneurs, technology is startups. We love startups. It's so amazing to say to people, they'll say, well, of course, you want to talk to people post-seed, right? They go, no, that's the point. We want to talk to them before that. We want to help them get that money. We want to help them get there quicker. And we want to help them do it well and right and help them get investors. What are you talking about? You're not that kind of lawyer I'm used to. I go, exactly.
Okay, so then do you have any kind of infrastructure, software? I mean, where's the call to action button here?
We don't.
Huh?
We don't, and that's
You
the
don't.
challenge. And we don't want it, because when we do that, we don't believe that you lower the price by commoditizing. You lower the price by just recognizing the model doesn't have to be what it is. That you can make profit, very fair profit, and you don't have to charge those fees. So we are actually, I will tell you, and anybody that's interested, I would love to have your card and I'll send you the survey. Here's the crazy talk of us. In addition to what we're doing, which we think is special, we're exploring creating our own platform that will commoditize it for the people who really don't want to go to a lawyer. Because we think some of those platforms need some upgrades, especially in intellectual property. We have not found one that will actually do like the real work of trademark research and name research. So we're looking at a platform with some AI in it. That's where we'll commoditize. We don't want to commoditize the actual delivery of the advice because that's where it loses the magic. We just want to price it differently.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Kind of touched on a little bit, but can you please share like kind of, she mentioned your favorite type of clients. Is it technology exclusive? Is it across the spectrum? And at what stage is it from company formation, or is it attraction and now they need help raising capital? And where do you find that you find most stuff?
That's a challenging question when you added the last couple of words of the most value, right? So I would say this, if you sat down, if we looked at this room right now, and your businesses ranged from a napkin or just post napkin to your post seed investment, we're going to look at you all and say, let's go. Tell us about your business, because that full spectrum. Now, this is really interesting. We could absolutely do work with larger enterprises, but we don't want to, because someone else can actually service them with the advice as well. Now, the price point's not going to be the same. However, we have one exception. We love IP. And so we have a few, which is all we need, enterprise clients. And all we do for them is keep an eye on their IP. We look at their software licenses, we look at their copyrights, their trademarking, because most of the time they don't have anybody keeping a close eye on that. That's what we focus on. But most of our clients are anywhere from napkin to, we've got $10 million clients, $20 million clients, but they're still entrepreneurs. And that's the key feature here. Because I'll close with this. Most of us know this. We were talking about this beforehand. Everybody who has their own business, and I did it, called myself an entrepreneur. But now there's layers to that, right? And there's a lot of people who are business owners, but they're not entrepreneurs. There are operators who are not entrepreneurs. We are a great match for entrepreneurs. And we're a good match for business owners. But thank you. Thank you,
We
everybody.
just have one more question
Oh, sure.
online. Chris.
All right.
Appreciate it, Scott. And thank you so much. This was a great presentation. And I'm just curious, like I'm an inventor, serial, I think entrepreneur, although I totally understand the difference between the two that you just described. And so if I would want a legal partner to help me to patent an idea that I've developed, would you be the type that I would approach? So that, I think that's the main question, because like I have a bunch of Shark Tank friends, and 9 times out of 10, their biggest problems are getting ripped off on Amazon by knockoffs, and then they have an IP firm who, armed with their patent, go after these people, and they're able to get them off of Amazon. So the next product I develop, if I choose to go down this route, I would want to be sure I had good trademark protection. Would I engage you? At what stage would I engage you? I guess I should ask.
Well, probably the obvious answer is the earlier the better, because this is where a lot of mistakes get made. And give you a quick example around trademarks. One of the things we find, and we advise against it, but most entrepreneurs do this, they go sit in a room and they come up with a name that they fall in love with. Then they bring the name to us and we go, oh, yeah, this has got huge problems. They go, but I love the name. And often they ignore our advice and push forward with the name because they're in love with it. And next thing you know, they've got a big issue. So we like to be at that front end. In fact, here's something most law firms don't do. 2 weeks ago, I sat down with a client and I did a naming session for them to help them develop the name. And they came up with a lot of them. Guess what? They didn't get charged for that. Why? Because that wasn't the legal work. That was what they needed. And that's an expertise I have. So the answer, Chris, is early. If it's a true patent, we're probably going to assess to what degree this is what's needed with the patent side. Sometimes for the actual patent, we refer it out to a really close partner of ours, but we are in that space of all the technology. And you're right, so many people get tripped up because they don't get it protected. They do it themselves. And sometimes they listen to other people, because I have heard some people get up in front of rooms like this and tell people things that are just so wrong. Like they'll say, you don't need a lawyer for this. Just, how about this one? Just send yourself a letter. That's nice for a wall hanging. That's nice for a wall hanging. That's not. And by the way, here's a little tip. Probably already know. The fact that you got the URL doesn't mean much. In fact, it means absolutely nothing when it comes to a trademark. It's just a URL. Most people go, no, I got the URL, I'm protected. You have Zippo protection from that. But that's a common misperception that needs to be shifted.
Finally, what can we as a community do for you?
Well, I mentioned the one. I would really love anybody who's willing, give me your card and I will send you the survey link. We're trying to get people's input. We're doing the market validation of what people's experience has been with online platforms and with lawyers, because we want to sort of see how we know how we see it, but we want to know how you see it. That would be the biggest one. And of course, I think probably everybody says this, just tell the story. And tell it however it lands for you. We hope that people walk out of this with some memory of this. And the next time someone's talking about it, you say, yeah, I heard this guy from this thing called CoreX. They're kind of crazy. You know, we love these. That's a compliment. It's called crazy.
All right.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I really enjoyed that presentation. For that was amazing. And I especially love, and I just wanted to say this real quick, that you're taking a industry known for its professionalism and you're being anti-professional, which I love, because professionalism is a poison. It's an absolute poison in business because it's anti-human. You can't be professional and human at the same time. Because to be human, you gotta tell the truth. So, good morning, champions.
Good morning.
Killer presentation flow. 3 words, very, very simple words. By the end of this presentation, I hope you understand what these words mean in context of business. So I'm gonna do this the really quick version. If you've ever seen Spaceballs, it's gonna be the short, ready. All right. How do I do this?
Keyboard, right key.
Right. Oh, hey. Why present? Why present? Public speaking is the #1 fear in the United States. 25% of people have a phobia, a deep phobia of public speaking. Why get up here all nervous and why present? Why? I'll take some ideas.
Who knows who you are?
Okay, so they know who you are.
And share what you know.
Share what you know. So to educate,
Sharpen your elevator pitch.
sharpen your elevator pitch. That's a good reason to present here for sure.
To create an experience versus some information.
Okay, all right. So you just put some energy behind that information, create the experience.
Awareness.
Awareness. Yeah, yeah.
To get feedback.
Feedback. All great answers.
It's fun.
It is fun
It is
for
fun.
some of us. Yes,
I love it.
we're gonna have fun. So why present? Apathy kills. That's why. Killer presentation. What you're killing with a killer presentation is you're killing apathy. Apathy in business kills. We want people to stand up. You want to get people to stand up. You want them to take action. The worst thing you can do when you present is give a bunch of information, give them the experience, all that kind of stuff. And you just like, "All right, thank you." And they go back to the same rat race, the same issues, the same drama, the same problems that they did when they came in. Would y'all agree with that? At least we got to kill apathy. So killer presentation specifically is designed, what I'm going to share with you is designed to get people up and taking action. What action? Well, we'll talk about that. But first, a couple of quick things before I get into the actual flow. You guys speak their language. There's one language that everyone in the world speaks. It's not English, by the way. Not even close. Yeah. Mandarin? No, not Mandarin either. No. There's one language everyone speaks. The human language. You know what's fun about the human language? There are no words. There are no words in the human language. It's all emotion. It's all energy, right? And it's the most powerful and attractive language in the world. You get good at speaking this language. By the way, we all speak it. Some of us don't speak it as well. Some of us aren't listening to other people's human language as well. You get good at that, business becomes a lot easier. So words can open minds, right? Words access the brain, but it's conviction, it's our energy that opens up hearts. So we gotta learn how to speak the human language. When you do a presentation, you've got to master the human language. Because here's something they won't teach you in school. There are no magic words. I'm a wordsmith, I'm a copywriter, I can create any message you want, but I promise you, I get people come to me, Josh, what do I say here? What do I say there? I'm like, doesn't matter. There are no magic words. There's only the right words. What are the right words? It's the words that you actually believe. When you should write this one down. When you present, nobody has to believe the word you say. They just need to believe that you believe it. So let me explain a little bit, one other quick concept. You got to flow. When someone brings me a script, I take their script, throw it away. When someone comes to me, they don't have a script. We make a script, I take it, I throw it away. Right? You got to flow. So what is flow? Flow is energy, right? Flow is the energy that attracts people. So let me explain this, navigating the sea real quick. Everything starts, everybody wants to be here, right? Oh, I want conviction, Josh. I just want to be able to stand up and do this without any problems. First step though, is clarity. Clarity is I know, right? Clarity is up here. I can see this clearly. I know this. Now, when you're clear on something, you can now develop confidence. Confidence is, I know that I know, right? Confidence is, but it's still analytical process. Confidence says, I got this, right? I know that I know. Once you're here, you can then take the next step to something called conviction. Conviction is what happens when what you do goes from your head to your heart. In fact, it's no longer what you do, it's what you are. Big difference. When you don't have to prepare for a presentation, you can just stand up and just be yourself, be human, and shout it from the rooftops. As you do this, as you move this direction, it's increasing energy, you're getting more into the flow, and you're a heck of a lot more attractive. So I hope you're realizing what really a good presentation does, a killer presentation, there's no selling. You're just attracting. We're selling in the sense of chasing, begging, convincing. This is all about attraction. So let's get, okay, for real this time. I want to share with you a killer presentation flow. It's not the only one, but it's a version that you can take and use. So the first thing I'll do, by the way, forgive the formatting. This looked a lot better in PowerPoint. Now it's slides. So we're going to deal with it. First thing you want to do, wake them up. You want to wake people up. I get people come to me, they're like, Josh, help me develop an interesting presentation. I don't want to put people to sleep. I want them to like my presentation. Let me tell you something, folks. They're already sleeping before you speak. They're distracted, right? Oh my God, they'll leave the iron on. Is my kid getting beat up at school? Is my cat thrown up on the carpet? They're thinking about everything else. Your job as a speaker, you got to wake them up. You got to bring them into the conversation. So don't talk about yourself right off the bat. In fact, there's a list of things. I'm going to tell you something you all know, maybe not at the conscious level, but at the subconscious level. Here's a list of things that people don't care about the first time they meet you on what I call a business first impression. They don't care about your name, your title, your business name, your good looks, your education, your personality, any of that kind of stuff. They don't. We'll talk about that more. What you do want to do to wake people up, bust them in. Have fun with it, right? You're the expert. You're supposed to be the expert in your field. If you're speaking, I hope you're excited about it. I hope you're the expert. Bust a myth. There's a bunch of crap out there that people believe that's just not true. I think Jeff did a fantastic job of opening up and busting myths, right? He called out things in the industry that were wrong. Bring up a shocking statistic, ask a powerful question. So for example, I'll give you an example here. I might say, hey, you've heard me say this before too. In business, shy equals broke. Less shy, less broke. If you're broke in business, it's probably because you're shy. And if you're shy in business, you're probably broke. But the weird thing is, most business owners don't know how shy they are. You're incredibly shy. Second thing, and actually Jeff alluded to this perfectly, sell the problem. I see so many folks, when I do my sales training, number one mistake I see salespeople make, they try and sell their product. Nobody wants your product, not yet, right? I can go in the, hey, look at my water. Isn't this beautiful water? It's the best water in the world. Don't you want some water? Look, it's triple ozonated, it's microfiltered, it's off the mountains of the Andes, tears of God. I think there's a tear of God in every bottle. You want my water? And all you're thinking is, I'm not thirsty. Right? So, so if I can get you to agree, if we can come to an agreement, I should put the other stuff up. Sorry, this transition stuff is weird. If we can come to an agreement that dehydration is killing your career, it's killing your family, and it's going to put you out in the streets. It's going to destroy your life. It's going to take 10 years off your life. If we can agree to these basic things, I'll scoop water out of the toilet over here in the UCF incubator, and I can sell it to you and you would buy it, right? So stop trying to sell the solution. Now, when it comes to selling the problem, share the real problem. Share the real problem. What I mean by that is, a lot of times you hear in business school, they try and tell you, like, you got to hit them over the head with the problem, right? You got to kind of, where's that pain point, right? Hit them in the pain point, kick them in the groin. They do that kind of stuff. No, don't do that. What's the matter with you? Don't you want to be wealthy? Don't you want to be rich? Don't you want to be happy? We do this all the time. We're not going to do that. We're going to empathize. When someone first meets you, they don't want to know what you do. They want to know, does Rachel get me? Does she actually understand what I'm going through? Does she know why I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning in a cold sweat? That's what we want to know. Do you understand me? Before you tell me how great you are, do you know what I'm going through? Empathize with them. You solve the problem. So, as an example, why are we so shy? Get back to the problem statement, right? My opening. Why are we so shy in business? Right? We don't have to be shy. But there's a couple of reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but a couple of key reasons. One, we don't know what we do. Everyone thinks they know what they do. I guarantee most people in this room, most people in general, we don't have clarity why we're in business. We know the commodity. We know how we do what we do, but we don't know exactly what we do. But more so, we're afraid to take a stand. We're so afraid to stand up and say something honest and truthful. We're so afraid to be human that we slink away, we shy away. That's really what's going on. What are people going to think about me, Josh? Hello, you're in business. If anyone ever thinks about you again, that's a good thing. Right? Come on. Oh my goodness. So we hide away, and at best we become invisible. At worst, we start repelling people. I'm going really quick. I apologize, but we got a little bit of time. So some of you are going to like this part finally. So we've already woken them up. We have agreement on the problem. People are like, yes, Jeff gets me. Rachel gets me. Right? Rupert gets me. He really gets me. All right, I'm in. You got me. Now you get to talk about yourself. But not just who are you? What are you? There you go. Don't get overly professional, right? What are you? There's two questions that we tend to get wrapped around the axle with that I want you to put aside. What do you do? And who are you? See, what do you do? We already discussed. You don't know what you do. I promise. If anyone wants to take the Pepsi challenge after this, let me know. We'll talk about it. I'll test you to see if you actually know what you do. But forget about what do you do for a second. And let's put aside who are you? Who are you as a beautiful person? Who are you is everything that's happened in your past. It's where you were born. It's your nationality, your ethnicity. It's your religion. It's your belief system. Beautiful. But all that stuff was not your choice. The question you have to answer is, what are you? And the answer to this question is your identity. It's your choice now. What are you moving forward? How are you going to implement? How is your business going to impact others? What are you standing for now? So the question I want to ask is, what are you? And the best way to answer that is your mission. Does everyone have a mission statement? Personal, company, doesn't matter. Everyone should. So guess what? You're answering the question, what are you? But you're not talking about you. It's not ego. Your mission is always about others. So for example, I might say, I'm Josh, the identity archaeologist. And everyone always asks me, what does that mean, Josh? What is this identity archaeologist? It doesn't make any sense. Well, first of all, on the surface, it means I have no competition. Think about that. It's not a cool place to be in business, have zero competition. Because you're the only one that does what you do in the way that you do it. But really, I'm on a mission. It's a dagger to my soul. Every time I see a solopreneur, an entrepreneur with a heart of gold and true value, unable to get the time of day from their ideal prospect because they lack the skill, they lack the message, or they lack the confidence to move the conversation forward, to go from a first impression to a second impression, to raise the what I call ROC, return on conversation. You're out there networking, you're presenting, you're emailing, you're marketing. What's the return on it? Are you moving the conversation forward? That's what I care about. So now, why do you care? Right? Nobody cares what you know until they know why you care. Say it one more time. Is that important? Nobody cares what you know until they know why you care. So why do you care? I'm guessing there's something in your story that relates to why you care. So don't give a resume. I don't need to know about your education and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. You can give a little bit of that. I don't need your biography, but I want to know, why are you talking to me? Why you? Jeff, why you and not someone else? Why should I listen to you? Why do you care so much about this? Is it just to make money? Look, if you're in business only to make money, don't try and give a killer presentation. It's not going to work. It's going to be a struggle. So this is the question you need to answer. So for example, I lived as shy my entire life. I grew up as a soldier. I really did. I was the good soldier. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I was obedient. I did everything I was told to do, multiple degrees. I grew up in 20 years as a semiconductor engineer, climbing the corporate ladder, multi six-figure at the end. And finally, I escaped corporate because it wasn't working out. I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. I wasn't as wealthy as I needed to be. And I wasn't free. And freedom is my favorite F word now. It didn't used to be. I had a different favorite F word back in corporate. You'll never guess what it is. But so,
Perfect movie.
yeah, so exactly. So this is what it was about. I know what it's like to be shy. I'm a severe introvert. You understand this? I am a severe introvert, and my best clients are also severe introverts. Because I'm able to show them how to, because introverts, we don't want to be in the spotlight. We don't want to be up here singing and dancing and do all this stuff. So you're never going to get me to brag about myself. However, I'll brag about my mission. I'll brag about the impact I want to have, my vision. Now, finally, the other half of you are going to get excited about this. Now you get to actually share what you do. Finally, right? Or actually, technically, how you do what you do. Finally, you get to share your product and your solution. But this is not your opportunity to vomit information. Sorry. Now, depending on how much time you have, you can fill this up with a lot of information. Now's the time, share your business model, share your competitive landscape, share all the kind of stuff you want to share, depending on your audience. But don't be a feature creature. Don't make it all about stats and statistics. But this is a good place to do it if you have to. Do share the solution, talk about your product and service, but really talk about the transformation. Talk about the journey you're going to bring people on, right? So I might share, maybe I'll talk about my micro brand attraction, where I help salespeople. You know, there's so much training on closing, how to be a closer, right? Overcoming objections, the right closing question, blah, blah, blah. Lots of training on that, very needed, very good stuff. I teach people how to open. Because if you know how to open a conversation, if you know how to do a business first impression, the closing's easy. Closing's done, right? Remember, solve the problem. The solution's easy. It's obvious. Personal branding, helping people gain the clarity to discover, articulate, and monetize themselves. Most folks here, and most folks in general in business, are selling commodities. I sell a commodity. Personal branding is a commodity. I'm not the only one that does it. A lot of people do that. Legal industry, it's a commodity, right? The only unique thing in your business is you or your brand, essentially. When you personify your business, that's the only unique thing. If you're not leading with that in your message, you're going to get lost in the sea of saying this, and that's not a cool place. And then killer presentations, of course, like a TED Talk on steroids. All right. So now, look at the journey we've already gone through. You've woken them up. They agree with the problem. They know what you stand for. They know why you care, and they know what you do. Now, where are you going? People follow people going places, right? Nobody wants to follow a person. Steve Jobs, he was a great visionary, right? Everyone's always a visionary on purpose because he knew where things were going, and people wanted to follow him. So when you paint a vision, don't think black and white. Don't be short term. This is not a 5-year plan. This is not the place for that. Sell me the dream. Sell me your dream. What does success look like, sound like, smell like, taste like, feel like? Help me experience where you're going with this. So I might share with you, my vision is a world of personal free trade. Where Rupert, you do what you do best. Eric, you do what you do best. Everyone does what they do best. You bring your genius out. You do what you do best. I'll do what I do best. And when we do that, we're going to create surplus. You realize that we have to. The only reason we underproduce, that we don't become a service to others, is because we're not in our lane. We're forced into a box we don't belong. So if we all do our part, we're going to create surplus. And when we create surplus, we got to share. You got to share. What are you going to do with it? So when we share, scarcity goes away. And when scarcity goes away, gone is hunger, homelessness, hatred, racism, misogyny, all this shit that's literally scarcity driven. It's gone. And then we get Star Trek, which is what Rupert's been waiting for, right? Star Trek society. Beautiful. All right. Number 7 is usually important. This is the last one. Very, very, very important. If I had to encapsulate this slide, I was thinking about it on the way here. I'll probably get in trouble, but basically this slide says, don't be an. You know, it's funny. A lot of folks are like, call to action. Oh, you have to ask for a sale. I got to ask someone to do something. No. Let me put it a different way. If I gave a presentation on the cure for cancer, if I came up with a cure for cancer in a pill, no side effects, and I talked about my process, I shared why I cared, all this stuff, I did the killer presentation about this cancer cure. And I said, thank you, folks. Have a good night. And I walked out. How would you feel?
Cheated.
Cheated, yeah.
Not only is that unethical and immoral, it should be illegal if it isn't. I don't know. I'll have to ask Jeff. Maybe that's illegal, right?
Unethical.
Don't do that. Don't be rude. Don't be unethical. You just shared, hopefully, you just shared something very powerful with people. You just gave people hope. You just showed them the future. You gave them a reason to like be excited again. You just woke them up. What's the next step? This is, by the way, this is not for a sale. The next step is become my client. No. What is the next step? See, this is the business first impression, is what I'm sharing with you. What is the second impression? Is it hop on a webinar? Is it download a sheet? Is it to get on a call with you? What is the second impression? Forget about the final impression. That's down the line. Because if I'm on the first floor, don't ask me to get to the second story in one step. Give me stairs. So what's the next step? Please, please, please always have a call to action in all your presentations. Please, 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 please. Help me make the right decision for myself. So. Isn't she beautiful? Is she attractive? Not just physically, but she's very physically attractive, but not just physically. Do you think she knows why she gets out of bed every morning? Do you think there's any doubt in her mind what she's doing on this freaking planet? That's sexy, business sexy. That's what you want. So, a couple of opportunities. If you want to ask me any questions, if we don't have time here, or you want to ask questions separately, find time on my calendar. I don't offer this all the time, but I'm doing it today. If you want to develop your question, the answer to the number one business question you're ever going to get, which is, hey, tell me, what do you do? We'll create that in about 15 minutes. I do this as a public service. There's no charge for it. There's no sales whammy at the end. I'm not going to try and sell you a product or get you into a service or blah, 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 blah. It's something I want you to have and I want you to go use and I want you to use to be successful. And by the way, I think everyone should have a public service. That's another whole talk, but consider like what small piece of value can you offer someone else without expecting something in return. I promise it will change your conversations forever. So anyways, I can ramble on, but we're out of time. So thank you.
All right, yes, we do have to get rolling. Next week, we're going to hear from George Everett from Penny. I believe it's a penalty. We are also looking for a second speaker. So if you have not spoken yet, or you spoke more than 6 months ago, just go to 1millioncups.com/Orlando and apply. We can get you on the schedule. Download the chat if you're online, or if you want to copy the chat, just email me after this. Join us on meetup.com if you're not already there, and then connect with somebody that you met here today. Sit down with them for lunch, for coffee, for whatever. Get to know each other, learn how to help each other, find ways that you can support each other and refer business to each other. That's how we build a community of entrepreneurs. And that's why I think we are the better organization than any other networking organization in the state. Thank you.